and welcome to episode 72 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki. I'm Nikki Hippie on Ravelry, and if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab, you will find our group right there. I will link to the group and the chatter thread about this particular episode, along with everything else I mention, just down below. And this time I am not going to do juicier show notes on my blog. I will talk a little bit more about that in Knit and Natter, but you may have noticed that there are a few changes to the look of the podcast and the way I'm doing things. I'm really excited about it, so I will talk a little bit more about that at the end of the episode. But in the meantime, as always, I want to kick off by saying welcome. If you are a new viewer, welcome. Thank you so much for giving the podcast a shot. I really appreciate it. And welcome back to my returning viewers. I always really appreciate that you come back every week. And every episode, I say every week, even though I mean every episode, because goodness knows I'm only here every other week. Here in London, we are still in lockdown. I feel like I've said that for several episodes now. For me, I have been working from home for, I've just finished my 6th week working from home, about to go into my 7th week, although I have a week off. But for me, it's about 7 weeks of social distancing / lockdown. So it's been a while, but I do want to say, as I have said the last few episodes, thank you to every key worker out there who is keeping things together, who is risking their lives essentially to do the things that we need, whether that be getting people to work, getting people their food and necessities, or treating the people in hospitals. What you are doing is absolutely above and beyond incredible, and thank you. And yeah, I might say that it's been difficult being in for 6 weeks, but it's nothing compared to what you do, and it is the very least I can do, so thank you. Today's tea, for the first time in a little while, is not Earl Grey. Now, thanks to lockdown, I have done a bit of a spring clean. I am vlogging at the moment because I am on leave, so if you want to check that out, you'll find my lockdown leave vlogs on the channel. And I'll be talking a little bit more later in the week about the updates I've made to my environment, because I've got some bits and pieces coming, hopefully this week, so I'll be able to vlog about them. But all that to say, this cupboard here has a shelf full of tea, and I tried to make it tidy. I had the lid of an old box that I tried to like file teas in, and it just didn't work. And I found an old desk filing system-y thing, and I've used that to file the bulk of my teas in, which means it's a lot easier to grab what I'm looking for. And at the front I've got a load of loose tea bags from Bird & Blend, which are in these little paper packets, and this one is Morning Kick. So I've been just reaching and grabbing whatever is at the front, which is a nice little like lottery of tea, which I really like. So yeah, this is Morning Kick, which is an Amazonian charged yerba mate blended with lemon and ginger to put a zesty zing in your day. So yeah, let's give it a taste. It smells really good. Oh my god, that's lovely. That's really good. I tend to veer away from just lemon and ginger teas because they can be a bit, I don't know, it's almost like they're a bit bland, which obviously they're not because they're lemon and ginger, but they're very kind of lemon, ginger, and it's a bit boring almost. But this has a really beautiful roundness of flavour and depth of flavour, and it's not just zing lemon, zing ginger. It's just really nice. I like this. But now let's move on to Whipped Up. It has been a fairly busy couple of weeks. I don't know about anyone else, but I have found that it has been, despite the lockdown, still fairly busy. I think I mentioned this before, I've almost found work busier because you have the added work of translating what you do into a digital space and dealing with remote communication, which is not the easiest. You think it's not going to be that much different, but it is very different when you can't meet people in person, and it just adds an extra layer of work and stress. So I am really grateful to have a week off so I can kind of take a little break and get a breather, which would be really nice. But I have been, because it's been so busy at work, still plugging away trying to get through my whips. Now, as of last episode, I had about 3 left. I had the Holly Berry socks, the Cozy Stripes blanket, and my Kerry Town pullover, which had been on the needles for a very long time. So spoiler alert, one of those is finished. I actually did it. Can you believe it? So for those of you who don't remember, I actually cast these on last June as part of the Summer of Socks cowl. Side note, I have heard you want the Summer of Socks cowl to come back. It will be back. As I said, I have a week off, I've got some brain space, so I'll figure it out and tell you all about it in the next episode. So these are probably my longest languishing sock whip, and the reason they languished for so long is because they were toe up and I got stuck on the heel, and I just never seemed to find the time or the brain space to sit down with a how-to. So I did, shortly after publishing or editing the last episode, and I sat down and worked on them. Now, before I go into too many details, just to let you know, this is West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply, and the body of the sock is knit in Holly Berry. And the contrast heels, toes and cuffs are in cayenne pepper. The pattern is a little bit of a mashup because I use the Hailu How to Knit Toe Up Socks videos to start them, but then I followed the Very Pink Knits toe up sock pattern to do the gusset and heel, and then I just kind of worked in the round for the leg and followed my own ribbing recipe, which is literally just 1x1 twisted rib for 15 rows, which isn't really a recipe at all, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it's a bit of a Franken pattern going on here. And the reason for that is no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get my head around the Hailu videos. Not because they're bad at all, they are incredible. They are very, very clear, very well paced and really, really good. But she was working on DPNs and it was just making my brain hurt to figure out a magic loop. And I know it's really simple, but when you're feeling a bit wrung out and a bit stressed anyway, you want blink here, move here, and you don't want to think so much. So for that, the Very Pink Knits pattern was a lot easier for me. And it also has a kind of heel flap and gusset kind of style, which I think I did talk about last week. Did I have one finished in the last episode? It feels so long ago now. I did have one finished in the last episode, didn't I? And now I have 2. Now, they look great on the blockers. They actually don't look dissimilar to a cuff down. And I will say that they went so fast. This second sock just flew off the needles. The one thing I will say is I don't think that my heel is the neatest. Where the edges are picked up is just not as neat as it could be, but otherwise I'm quite happy with it. I mean, I spoke last week about the fact that it wasn't a reinforced heel, which I wasn't sure how I felt about that and how I was going to wear, but I'm quite happy with them looking at them now. I wasn't sure about them when I finished them, but now I've blocked them, I don't know, I think I quite like them. I haven't tried them on yet or walked around in them much, so I will report back then. The only thing I will say is, and I don't know how I've managed it, but they don't match. And what happened was, I'm not sure. See, I'm not really sure what happened with the striping sequence here, but there was on the first sock a bit of a snafu. So it should go mid-red, dark green, and then light green, but instead it went back to mid-red, dark green again. It kind of stopped in the middle of a pattern repeat and then repeated it. So this one didn't do that. I was slightly off at the heel, to be fair. I didn't do, this one has got some of the spotty green between the mid-red and the heel, so I just made it, I didn't quite manage that, but that doesn't matter. But yeah, then the stripe continued as normal here. So they don't quite match in the leg. So I had a similar issue with my Dundee Knit rainbow socks, where in order to make them match, I rolled off a few stripes to start at the correct stripe, and then I was 3 stripes short in the foot, but I'd wound off 3 stripes, so I was able to attach them to the toe and finish it. And they still look matchy-matchy because it was in the toe part. Because I was doing these toe up, and whatever issue happened, they're now not matchy-matchy in the leg. I don't mind about this at all. Have you ever known a less chic person? Like, it really doesn't matter to me that they don't match. I'm just a bit befuddled by how it happened. I can only think that on this one where I kept trying with the heel, I had snipped off the body of the sock yarn. So I had snipped off the holly berry, and maybe I wound some off for some reason and just started later in the ball than I thought. That's the only thing I can imagine that happened there. So yeah, when I put them on, I'll notice that and I'll remember, oh yeah, these are my learning curve socks. I don't know how I feel about toe up. They definitely, as I said, flew off the needles. I'm not as comfortable with them as I am with cuff down, but then again, look how long it took me to get the hang of cuff down. So let's not write off toe up socks just yet. I'm also quite keen to try Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears umbrella toe sock. An umbrella heel, I think it's an umbrella toe and heel. But yeah, the pattern she's come up with looks really interesting. The socks she knit out of them, which she showed off on the Bakery Bears podcast, look really good. So I'd like to have a go at that. I think she said that the pattern is quite, yeah, blink here, move here kind of thing. And that's, I think, what I need to get my toe up socks to the same kind of finish that my cuff down ones are. That's a lot of chat about socks, but they've been on the needles for nearly a year, so I think they deserve it, right? So that's it for faux. Unfortunately, there is only one faux this week, but I will show you what else I have been working on. Here's a clue. This is the end of my magic ball, which I'm using in my Cozy Stripes blanket. Now this is just a really basic crochet stripe blanket out of many sock weight 4-ply yarns, most of which are advent swaps, but a lot are just minis. But I would recommend checking out Attic 24 Granny Stripe, because that's really easy to follow and super straightforward if you've never done it before. Attic 24, when it comes to crochet blankets, an absolute go-to. She is a gold mine, so I would recommend checking her out. But yeah, this is how much I've got left from the leftovers of my Cozy Squares. I'm almost done with it. I tried it on my bed, it's about halfway. So I think when I finish this magic ball, I will raid my little stash of minis, make up another ball, and just keep going and going and going until it covers my bed. Because I think this will be really snuggly to have in the winter. Because fun fact, we don't have central heating, so we need the blankets. But I also think when I finish this, I'm definitely gonna have enough minis to make another one, or at least get a good chunk of one done. And I really do like having one on the hook, because it's just a really nice, relaxing thing to work on, particularly in the winter when it's big enough to snuggle under. That's really nice. But having said that, I do it now, even though it's getting quite warm. I think with the next one I will make it about half the width. So it is more of a sofa blanket, snuggle blanket, than a full double-sized one, because once this is the length of my bed, it's going to be it's not going to be only useful for one. I mean, that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be quite heavy, and there's going to be a lot of fabric, and it's not going to be something I'm going to be able to like scoop up and easily move to my armchair or downstairs to the sofa. So what I want is a more portable sized one, so that I can snuggle up downstairs with it. I can throw it over the arm of my armchair, because I just think it's quite nice. I keep doing it with this. It's getting a bit big to store in anything really, even a basket, so I just kind of throw it over the arm of my armchair, and I really love how it looks. So I would probably do that. Also, if I'm ever, you know, in a longish trip in a car in the winter, it'd be quite nice to have this to kind of snuggle up under in the car as well. So yeah, I love this, and I think I'm always going to have one on the hook, because even when I've made a smaller one for my armchair, because they're so lovely to make and I like having minis, and you know, I just want to, I'm always looking to like work through my stash, and I think it'd be a lovely thing to make a smaller one, a smaller sized one, and donate it to a charity. Perhaps, you know, they might want to sell it, or they might want to give it to somebody more in need. So I think, for example, a refugee charity would be a really lovely place to donate something like this to. Now, here is the part where I should pull out my Kerrytown pullover and say, look how much progress I've made. I'm not going to do that because I haven't touched it. When I finished the socks, I kept reaching for my crochet striped blanket, particularly on work calls, and when I've been watching Escape to the Chateau of an evening, because yeah, why not? Why not? It's one of my favourite shows. I find it really soothing and comforting to watch, so why not watch it during lockdown? And it just means that I can be working on something, keeping my hands busy, but not have to think too much. So yeah, I will be working on the Kerrytown at some point, but for the time being, that is my go-to simple making. However, I have cast on something new. I'm going to show you the yarn first, because this is a cone of yarn, and I have no idea what this is or where this came from. I'm fairly certain it is wool. It's about a fingering weight. It's quite a light fingering weight, and it is beautiful. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but it is a mild purple. So it's got this like lovely purple, dark lavender, but within it, it's got shots of periwinkle blue. There's some bright pinks, some reds. It is just gorgeous, and there is plenty here. Now, there is a bit of a story behind this and why I'm knitting with it now. So this was given to me by a friend. Her mother passed away, and her mother had been a knitter, and so she had needles and yarn and things, and she gave some of them to me. And this was the yarn she gave me, because she knows that I love purple and greens and blues, they're my colours, and yellow, you know I love a yellow. So she gave this to me thinking that I would knit something out of it, and almost immediately I knew that I wanted to knit her something out of it, because I wanted to give her something back that was made out of her mother's yarn that would remind her of her mother, and also know that one of her friends cares enough about her to consider her knit worthy. And I've been thinking for ages what I would like to do with this, and I thought I'm going to knit her a cowl. Now, my friend is Muslim, and they are currently celebrating Ramadan at the moment. It's the month of Ramadan, and I thought what better time to work on this and hopefully send it over to her so she receives it during or towards the end of Ramadan as a gift. But that's the story behind this yarn. Now, I have sort of started a cowl, and I'm going to show you it. I wanted to rip it out immediately, but I wanted to show you it first. So I am knitting the Pearl Drop Cowl by Celine Leroux. It is very, very beautiful. It's very simple. It's got kind of like long lines and diamonds going through it. And it sort of reminded me of the tiling that you would find in a mosque, which is why I wanted to do it, because I thought she would really like that and she would appreciate that detail. Now, it needs smaller needles than these are, but because I'm such a tight knitter, I thought I'm going to cast it on and just see. I have no idea if I've Mobiused it, because it's a very short length of cable, but even if I haven't, I am definitely going to unpick it. You can't see, but it's very, very loose. I'm about half a size too big, and it is very loose, and I just think you will lose the pattern because it's not defined enough. So I'm going to have a rummage through my needle stash, and I'm going to find a longer cable for a start, because I can't imagine how I wouldn't have Mobiused it when it's all ruffled up like this. And a smaller needle, because I want it to be, I mean, when we make gifts, we always want them to be, I don't like the use of the word perfect, but we always want them to be as good as they can be. But I feel like this is very, very special because it is a gift that I hope will be a good memory of her mum. And yeah, I want it to be really good, and I want it to be the best that I can do. So I'm going to rip this out and start again on a on a larger needle, on a longer length cable and a smaller needle. But yeah, I just thought I would share it because technically it is a whip. I have started it. I've got plenty to make it with. So I was thinking about making it maybe slightly bigger. But then if it's too big, you have to keep going until you're able to loop it around again. I will think about this. But yeah, I'm hoping that she will love this. I'm also hoping that she won't watch this episode because I'm kind of hoping it'll be a surprise. I will text her and tell her not to. But yeah, that's it for Whipped Up this week. It's fairly short at the moment because I am trying to work on things until they're finished. I don't know if you'd call me monogamous because, you know, even when I was working on the socks, I was also working on the crochet stripes blanket. But yeah, I'm more monogamous than I usually am. But now let's move on to knit and natter. Now, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I am making some changes to the channel. So I thought I would talk about them a little bit here. Because as I said last episode, it's a struggle to have general content when you're not really doing much. But I do have some ideas of things I'd like to talk about coming up. But that's a complete tangent and another subject entirely. But yeah, for a little while, I have wanted to make some changes to the channel. Specifically kind of my titles. I've had them since I started pretty much, and the podcast is going to be 4 in September, and I just wanted to do something new. So I have gone with new music, new fonts, new titles, and I am going to be changing the name of the channel. I considered changing the name of this podcast, but I'm not going to. But I am going to change the name of the channel because I want to share other videos. So at the moment, all I'm doing on this channel is this podcast, and I absolutely love doing it and I want to continue doing it, but I also want to talk about other things. And notably, those other things are goal setting and organisation, because it's something I do a lot of and it's something I watch a lot about and I find really, really fascinating. And I also want to talk more about period dramas because they are my, I don't like the term guilty pleasure, but they are something I really love. They're the kind of thing that when they come on, I will get myself a cup of tea, I will get myself a plate of biscuits or some cake and some knitting, and I will settle in, and I really enjoy them and I get really into them. So I wanted to share that. So I'm going to start 2 new series. One is called Goal Power and one is called Frock Tales. And I just wanted to change the name of the channel so that it's no longer just named after the podcast, but so it's a channel where there are various things you can check out. And I know there will be some of you who aren't interested in those things, and that's absolutely fine. The podcast will still be here every other week, so that will not be going anywhere. There will still be the regular knitting and crochet content, but I'm just exploring other things. And like I say, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. It's just been a struggle to find the time. And at the moment, I don't feel like I have tons of time all of a sudden because I'm in lockdown. However, I'm not going to work at the moment, so I am saving a couple of hours commuting every day. I am not going out after work to see friends anymore, so I'm saving time there, and we're getting to a time of year when it's quite bright out, so I can, you know, start batch filming a load of videos that I can be editing in the evenings and uploading and scheduling. So yeah, I'm excited to use this time to do something I've been wanting to do for a really long while. But I just want to say, I don't think that that is necessary. I don't think that we have to use lockdown as a productivity contest at all. I think that if what gets you through this lockdown is just chilling out and taking it easy, that's absolutely fine. For me, I really enjoy being productive. It makes me feel good. I want to wear myself out so that I can sleep at the end of the day, because I don't know about anyone else, I'm just not that tired at the end of the day because I don't really do anything. And that's why I've started going out and taking advantage of the 1 hour exercise a day. So I do go out for a run every day, and it has really been helping. And I have felt in such a great mood over the past couple of days since starting to make these changes, because it is me fulfilling a dream and a desire that I've had for, I don't know, about a year, 18 months now, and now I'm finally doing it. And it feels powerful to take something I have no control over, which is this global pandemic and the fact that I am in lockdown, and I'm going to use it to do something I have been wanting to do for a really long time. A lot of the struggle I've had with the lockdown is the lack of control. I think I'm probably a little bit of a control freak, and I don't like that I can't go to the gym and I can't see my friends. I have no control over that, but I have control here, and it's really, really helping me, and my mood is so much better than it has been for several weeks now. So I'm excited to do something that is going to make me happy and will hopefully look really good, and I'm excited to do this and just see how well I can pull it off, really. So I hope that you like the slightly new look of the way things are at the beginning of the podcast. I hope that you will check out the other playlists, but obviously I completely understand if it's not your bag at all, totally fine. But yeah, I'm excited, and I hope that you have found something that buoys you up at this really difficult, stressful, mad time. And maybe that is doing something you've been wanting to do for a really long time and deciding that now is the time to grasp that and do it. And maybe what you're doing is taking a nap after lunch every day, and that makes you feel good. I think that's all that matters. Doing what you can to get through this, that's all that matters. So I hope you are doing that. I hope you are doing as well as you can. And if you're not, know that it is not a reflection of your worth, because this is a really difficult time. And as I said, it wasn't until I found a way to feel like I was back in control of things that my mood started coming back up again. But that's it for this week. I hope you and your family are safe and well, and you have a lovely couple of weeks until I see you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay inside. Take care. Bye. But now let's move on to knit and, no, let's not move on to knit and natter, because I haven't done whipped up yet.